The Vedas are much older than any of our cultures. See, I do not have an institute, don't have all the instruments. So what I do is I go to scientific institutions, to universities and so on. Difficult in India especially, because people thought, oh yeah, Agnihotra, nice, that is part of our religion. But it's not science. Agnihotra is a fire which you perform in a copper pyramid of fixed size and shape, exactly at the time of sunrise and sunset, burning two medicinal substances. One is dried cow dung, second is pure ghee, pure cow's ghee. And we add a little bit of rice, unbroken pieces only, akshat, to the fire along with some mantras. In the morning it's Suryaya Swaha, Suryaya idam namama, Prajapataye Swaha, Prajapataye idam namama. Prana is the life energy which connects us with the cosmos.
Okay.
And now, because of all the pollution, that is a little bit stopped. With Agnihotra, the atmosphere is free and prana can flow, and immediately you have a positive effect on your mind. And Agnihotra first purifies the atmosphere, water, resources, soil. I mean, there are simple experiments. One experiment is you take a bottle of water and measure, for example, the bacterial count, add some Agnihotra ash.
Okay.
And then wait for 12 hours, and then you measure again. And there's a big reduction in the bacterial count. Another thing which everybody immediately can do, perform Agnihotra and use a part of the ash to put in your drinking water.
Let's start today's podcast and let's talk to President, German Association of HOMA Therapy, Dr. Ulrich Berk. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Welcome, Dr. Ulrich, to our podcast.
Thank you, Hitesh.
You're doing research in therapies like HOMA Therapy and Agnihotra, spending lots of time in doing research for well-being of a human and air, water, pollution, everything. So before going to know the actual meaning of that HOMA Therapy and Agnihotra, I would like to know why and how you are attracted to this Vedic science of India.
Okay, it is Vedic science, not of India, because the Vedas are much older than any of our cultures.
Okay.
Also older than India, although India has a long history. Yeah, still their Vedas are older. I was in Germany. I was assistant professor at the Constance University at that time. And I was always interested in a little bit alternative things. Yeah. Somehow that was my nature. And so I was interested in different kinds of alternative therapies, which were not taught at the university. So I was teaching these. And then one day a friend asked me, he has some interesting people he wants to visit in the afternoon, whether I want to come. And I said, yes, sure, I come. So I went there. And we just had a nice discussion about the future of the world and so on. And then at some point they said, oh, and now we are going to a special room where we perform Agnihotra, a fire done at sunrise and sunset.
Okay.
And I thought, oh, that's a little bit strange. But anyway, I went there and I was on one hand fascinated. I felt something. And on the other hand, my intellect said, oh, that is a little bit strange. It is difficult. They talked about the element fire, and I thought, oh, elephant, we know 92 elements, natural elements, but fire is none of them. And so I thought, okay. So my intellect was a little bit opposing, but inside I knew, okay, that is something real. And I also knew from the beginning I will do it.
You feel some positivity, like
yes. So, from the first Agnihotra, I felt okay. I will also perform it myself. But my intellect was still for 2 weeks opposing. So we had some discussion internally, but I knew who would win in the end. So after 2 weeks, then I started. That was in 1979. quite some time ago.
Yes.
I was a young guy at the time. Then I started performing Agnihotra myself. First, I thought it's very difficult because getting up so early. I was still used to students' life. And I mean, before 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, we never went to bed. Yeah. And so getting up at 4 seemed a little bit difficult, but okay, I did it and I performed Agnihotra. After that, was so proud of myself and went back to sleep, had a very good sleep. And then it was not really difficult. It was becoming natural. Also, my rhythm changed a little bit. So I went to bed a little bit earlier. And so it was not really difficult. And since then, I perform Agnihotra. And then next year, there was our teacher, Srivasan Paranjape, who I met him in India.
Okay.
And then he said he comes to Europe. I said, okay, I have still some time, some holidays from the university. I could travel around with him. Oh, I had a car, so I was offering to drive him around. We did that. And then we went to many, many different countries in Europe. We went to Scandinavia, Italy, France, Netherlands, Yugoslavia, and later on to Poland. And in Yugoslavia, we met some scientists. And he was fascinated of Agnihotra because he said, it is a small, simple process, but so much science is involved in that.
Okay.
He was really fascinated. And so, of course, for me, it was interesting because I was always interested in science, because my subject was philosophy of science. So that was really interesting. So then later on, I met some other scientists, and 10, 15 years later, I was more involved in scientific research here in India. That was quite some time later.
Okay. So you are doing research almost from 40 to 50 years.
Since more than 40 years. First, it was in Eastern Europe, the research.
Okay.
And later on, it was in India. And see, I do not have an institute. I don't have all the instruments. So what I do is I go to scientific institutions, to universities and so on, and try to get them interested in the subject.
Okay.
And at the beginning, it was difficult, in India especially, because people thought, oh, yeah, Agnihotra, nice, that is part of our religion, but it's not science. And I told them, okay, we just check whether this traditional knowledge of the Vedas can be validated in terms of modern science.
Okay.
We don't have to believe anything. We should actually, as scientists, we should not believe. But as a scientist also, we should not blindly disbelieve. So we just be open to whatever the results are, just do experiments, do then them in a strict, stringent manner, and then we see the results, and then we know.
So what results we are getting from Agnihotra? But before that, because audience is watching, they want to know what is Agnihotra, what is the actual brief definition of it?
Okay, Agnihotra is a fire which you perform in a copper pyramid of fixed size and shape,
Okay.
exactly at the time of sunrise and sunset,
Okay.
by burning two medicinal substances. One is dried cow dung, pure cow dung.
Okay.
Second is pure ghee, pure cow's ghee.
Okay.
And then exactly at the time of sunrise, sunset, there are some mantras, and we add little bit of rice, unbroken pieces only, akshat, to the fire, along with some mantras, Sanskrit mantras.
Sanskrit mantras.
Yes. So I would want to show, it is a very simple process. This copper pyramid, which I mentioned, it has to be exactly this size, this shape. You don't find it on the market. It has to be exactly this thing. Then we need some dried cow dung. We make small and thin pieces. Then it burns easily. And then we need some cow's ghee. In India, everybody knows ghee. The only thing is, it has to be pure cow's ghee. It's difficult to get. You have to go to some a dairy farm where they only have cows.
Okay.
So then you get the pure ghee.
And which Sanskrit mantra you're talking about?
Yeah, in the morning it's Suryaya Swaha, Suryaya Idam Namama, Prajapataye Swaha, Prajapataye Idam Namama. And after Swaha, you add a few grains of rice to which you apply a little bit of ghee to the fire. So in the evening, the two mantras are Agnaye Svaha, Agnaye Idam Namama, Prajapataye Svaha, Prajapataye Idam Namama. And that's it. It's a very simple process, very easy also. Children of 5 years can actually do it.
Yes.
The mantras are very simple. I mean, I can do it. Everybody can easily do it. And after 10 minutes, it's over. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a very simple process, but the effects are really profound.
Okay.
They're really, really wonderful.
So what kind of effects we are getting? Positive effects?
I mean, the first thing is it is the effect on our mind and our whole body.
Okay.
The effect on the mind, it is said that prana and mind are like two sides of the same coin,
Okay.
very much interconnected. And prana is the life energy which connects us with the cosmos.
Okay.
And now, because of all the pollution, that is a little bit stopped, this connection. So we have less flow of prana. And that also means people are getting depressed. And, even in countries where they have everything, where the wealth is very well distributed, everybody has everything, but still people are depressed. They have lots of stress. And they're unhappy, and also a lot of suicides, although they have everything. And that is because prana does not come through, and that puts some pressure on the mind. With Agnihotra, the atmosphere is free, and prana can flow, and immediately you have a positive effect on your mind. Immediately. That is what people feel immediately.
Okay.
And that helps. So that is the first thing. And then nowadays we all talk about climate change and global warming and so on. That is correct, but it's only one part of the problem. And the big problem is the overall pollution of our planet, of all the environment, atmosphere, water resources, soil. And Agnihotra first purifies the atmosphere,
Okay.
water resources, soil.
Okay.
And that is what is said in this traditional Vedic knowledge. So we thought, okay, how to test it? So we start with atmospheric pollution.
Okay.
And there are three main types of atmospheric pollution. That is, one is biological, all kinds of microbes. Second is water resources, and that is soil.
Okay.
So with atmospheric pollution, the biological part is easy. We took petri dishes with some nutrient agar, and we opened them for 10 minutes before Agnihotra. Then we close, and then for incubation.
Okay.
Normally they are in some chamber with a certain temperature for 24 hours so that all the bacteria can grow easily. And we did the same thing after Agnihotra. And then we compared the result. And there was a reduction of, say, 80-90% of all the bacteria just by performing Agnihotra, just one Agnihotra.
Only the small process.
Only the small process in this little Agnihotra pyramid, yes.
Okay.
And that has been repeated many, many times in different places, different universities, and also published several times. So that is very well established.
Okay.
So that shows that bacterial pollution is reduced.
Okay.
Then chemical pollution, that's mainly SOx and NOx. We did the same thing also in different places. And first, some values go a little bit up, and then they go down by 30-40% by just one Agnihotra. So we still have to do it several times. If you do it for 1 week or continuously, then the change will be tremendous. And the third part is physical pollution. That's particulate matter. I mean, that is when you talk of daily air pollution, which every winter is in the headlines. And then always also Delhi is the most polluted city, not only in India, but worldwide.
Okay.
That also, smoke has some particles, but then the particles go down much faster with Agnihotra. So again, we have a reduction with just one Agnihotra of 30-40%. And then the professor at the university where we did the experiment, he said, no, he doesn't believe that. And he said, maybe in the night, because we did it at sunset, in the night, these particles settle down anyway. He said, okay, do it from morning to evening. Okay. It was the same result. Yes. So there was a reduction in these particles. Actually, we want to do a big project, especially for the daily situation. This is still in planning stage, because that would give all people in such big cities a way to purify at least their own homes.
Okay.
And normally you say half of the time you stay at home, and especially in the night when you're sleeping, if you have a breathe in pure air, that is very helpful for your sleep and for your health. And we do not have to wait for all the political instruments which they are using. They're doing something, but it takes long time. Until then, maybe so many people, thousands of people every year die alone in Delhi because of this air pollution.
Yes.
Yeah? So if we could help them, that would be great.
How much this Agnihotra effect lasts? I
mean, normally best is you perform it regularly. Okay. Then you have a lasting effect. The thing is also, you perform Agnihotra and now the pollution goes down. Yeah. But then, during the day, pollution comes from outside again.
Yes.
So, because the source of pollution is still there. So we have to continue with that.
Okay. So, in this winter, if I'm doing Agnihotra regularly, so in Delhi pollution, will I get 50% relief or?
I would guess more.
More. Okay.
Yes.
If everyone doing Agnihotra in their home, so I think we will get rid of so much of pollution.
Actually, yes. And that is also the idea. My personal belief is we should go back to a Vedic, to the Vedic time. In Vedic time, Agnihotra was performed in every household.
Yes.
And there was peace and prosperity all over the planet. And now we have the opposite.
Yes.
So I think if we can go back and perform Agnihotra in more and more households, and ideally in the end in every household, then we will again have peace and prosperity all over the planet. That is the aim.
Okay. So this is about air pollution.
Yeah.
And you are talking about water pollution and other things also. So how it can manage water pollution also?
Yeah. I mean, there are simple experiments. One experiment is you take a bottle of water and measure, for example, the bacterial count, add some Agnihotra ash.
Okay.
And then wait for 12 hours, and then you measure again. And there's a big reduction in the bacterial count.
Okay.
And one experiment was done in Pune. They took very bad polluted water from a river, and they poured it through a cylinder which was filled with Agnihotra ash. And then there was a reduction of more than 90% of bacteria by just pouring it through Agnihotra ash. And also the other parameters of water quality, like dissolved oxygen, biological oxygen demand, chemical oxygen demand, all improved by just pouring the water through.
So is that possible if we are doing on large scale and adding these ashes in rivers. So will they?
That's a good question. Because first I thought, a river, it's a big water body. But we did one survey, that is, some scientists did some survey at the Narmada River.
Okay.
And the Narmada River, it was near Maheshwar. It's a big one. I know only a few people who are able to swim across it. So what they did is they measured the water quality upstream and downstream, and then at our place. And at our place, HOMA Therapy, Goshala in Maheshwar, these Agnihotra and some other fires, additional fires, are performed regularly. And also from time to time, Agnihotra ash is put to the river. But of course, the quantity of the water in the river compared to that is the quantity of ash very tiny. Yes. Still, the water quality at this place was much, much, much better than upstream and downstream. So that shows Agnihotra also have, if you perform it regularly, not just once, it has a big effect on the area around you.
So we can also use in water treatment plants.
That would be possible also, yeah.
Okay.
And another thing which everybody immediately can do, perform Agnihotra and use a part of the ash to put in your drinking water. I mean, normally most people nowadays have a filter system or they have a RO system.
Yes.
And RO system is good in the way that it takes out all the bacteria, viruses, everything. But I think what is left over is H2O, yes, but without energy. And if you add Agnihotra ash, then you get the energy back and you also get some minerals. So it's much healthier.
Okay.
I mentioned that atmosphere is purified, water is purified, and also the soil is purified. And that's a big subject because nowadays, because of all the chemicals which are used in agriculture, the soil health has been very much down.
Okay.
The soil has been depleted. I just come from Punjab. And Punjab earlier was the state with the best soil in India.
Yes.
And still some parts are. And also internationally, it is very special, this soil in Punjab. But after the Green Revolution, farmers, of course, they had huge profits. And they thought, okay, we add a little bit more of the chemicals, we get more yield, we get more profits. But in the course of the time, all these herbicides, pesticides, and fertilizers destroyed the soil health.
Okay.
And for the soil health, most important is all the microbes, the soil organic carbon. That is most important. But with all these agrochemicals, these microbes died. By the way, also, and earthworms also die. They can't stand all these chemicals. And the soil organic carbon is depleted, and that goes to the atmosphere. Nowadays, everybody talks about greenhouse gases, and agriculture is responsible for about 20 to 25% of the greenhouse gases.
Okay.
And now, soil organic carbon in India, some years ago, people told me it's maybe 2%. But they said, oh, it's maybe 1%. And last year, somebody said, oh, maybe it's even only 0.5%. And but the soil organic carbon, which is taken away from the soil, just goes in form of CO2 to the atmosphere.
Okay.
We have measured on our farm in Germany, where we perform the fires, soil organic carbon of 12%. In Poland, where more fires are being done, we had 15 to 17%. And see, if you do the math, if more and more areas would use this method, then so much carbon from the atmosphere could be sequestered that this problem with excess CO2 would be solved.
Okay. From same process, Agnihotra.
Yeah. And in addition to that, the soil health would be improved.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's really a win-win situation.
So dead soil or unfertile soil will become organic again.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And very productive, very healthy. And that is necessary for the future of mankind, because some study from the United Nations, Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, they say if we would continue like we are doing now, we would destroy so much soil that in the year 2050, that is not so much time left, 25 years only, we only would have 1/4 of the soil which we had in 1960, fertile soil. And that would just not be enough to feed the growing number of people. So for that, rejuvenation of the soil, this Agnihotra method is very important.
Kind of a medication for soil.
Yeah. And the beneficial soil microbes, they are increased, and the harmful soil microbes, they are controlled.
Okay.
So that's the beauty of it.
So at the time of Corona, so have you performed this Agnihotra or help people to get rid?
I mean, I perform Agnihotra since 46 years.
Okay.
Of course, I also performed in the time of Corona. But this is a good question, because at that time, nobody whom we know who was performing Agnihotra got seriously ill due to Corona. And some caught it. Most were even, they didn't catch it. And nobody died from it. So nobody was seriously affected by it. And that has different aspects. One is Corona, the virus, was spreading through the air.
Yes.
But as I mentioned, Agnihotra purifies the air. So that factor was removed. There's an interesting report from some friends in Spain. 3 young people lived together in the same flat. And then sometime they found out one of them got Corona, got infected. And he was not performing Agnihotra, but the other 2 were performing Agnihotra. And although they were living in the flat and probably already he had been infected for some time, they did not catch it. So that protects. And the second, so one thing is the bacteria or the viruses in the air. The second thing is, the immune system. That's very important for such infectious diseases. And the immune system gets improved when you perform Agnihotra. I already mentioned Agnihotra has a very beneficial effect on your mind. And that is very important for the immune system also, because if you're stressed, then the immune system suffers. But if you're relaxed, then that helps to build up a strong immune system. And then immune system is there to defend such infections also.
Okay.
So this is why it was a very big help during that time also.
If someone is suffering from cancer or something else like big chronic diseases, will this Agnihotra therapy help?
See, we can't promise that, for example, cancer can be healed.
Okay.
We have many reports that actually cancer was healed. But each person is different. So in some cases, it really helps. In other cases, the person still dies from cancer. But still, there's a big difference, because one problem is also that these cancer patients, when they get the diagnosis and when the doctor tells them, oh, you only have half a year to live, they are not very happy. And so they feel a lot of stress and depression. And that makes the process of dying more difficult.
Okay.
And anyway, we have to die at some point. And whether we die from some sickness or whether we die from old age, whatever.
Yes.
We have to die at some point. So, but we have to accept it. And if you perform Agnihotra, your mind will be more calm, and you will be able to deal with such situations, also with difficult situations. Also, it helps the family, because the family is also affected. If one person of the family dies, then it is a difficult situation. By the way, one main factor for cancer nowadays is the pollution with pesticides of our food. That's a big solution, a big problem. And this is why, I told you I was just in Punjab. They have a lot, high incidence of cancer patients there.
Okay.
And so what one thing is with HOMA farming, which is based on Agnihotra, we do not need all these pesticides, and therefore the one cause for cancer is gone. Second thing is, we just have made some experiments. We took some fruits and soaked them in Agnihotra ash water. That is, in water, adding Agnihotra ash overnight.
Okay.
And then we measured the pesticides in these fruits before and after.
Okay.
And there was a massive reduction, between 90%, 95% in general. Yeah, the different pesticides vary, but definitely was a massive reduction. And that also would remove one of the causes of cancer. So that is a very important point also. A third thing is, we just did some research in Lucknow University. We took leaves from Ayurvedic plants which help against cancer. Neem, tulsi, curry, and bale. Okay. They made extracts of these plants and applied them to human cancer cells in cell lines. And these extracts reduced the viability of the cancer cells. And also we did control with the same plants from outside of the HOMA atmosphere. That was a very good result.
Okay. And what is a HOMA therapy?
Okay. We till now mainly we talked about Agnihotra.
Yes.
Agnihotra is the fire which you perform in this copper pyramid at sunrise, sunset. Okay. And HOMA therapy is the application of Agnihotra in different areas. Okay. The application in medicine, we do prepare different medicines with Agnihotra ash. Okay. By, for example, mixing Agnihotra ash with ghee. That is then Agnihotra ointment, and you can apply to skin. It helps with several skin problems. Okay. Makes you more beautiful. But also it goes into deeper tissues. Okay. Then we can mix Agnihotra ash with honey, take it internally. Okay. And there are some other applications of Agnihotra ash. So application of Agnihotra and Agnihotra ash, that is HOMA therapy. And one important application is also Agnihotra in psychotherapy. That's one big problem, what is the therapy for the therapist? Because therapists, from morning till evening, they hear all the difficult stories of people. And in the end, at the end of the day,
they got depressed.
They may get depressed. It's difficult. Yes. Yeah. And like with doctors, in the West at least, many doctors are alcoholics because of that. Okay. And because they see so much suffering all day. And so with Agnihotra, one thing is the therapist himself, his mind is improved. And second thing is, if he performs Agnihotra in his office, then, and that was reported by many people, if people come immediately when they already entered the office, they say, "Oh, it's so nice here." And that helps the therapy. It helps the therapist because the atmosphere which is created by Agnihotra already does half of the work.
Okay.
So his work will be easier. And in the end, he will not be depressed, but he will be quite happy, content that he did some good work and can enjoy the rest of the day. And then another application is in agriculture, and that is very important. Already I mentioned the effect of Agnihotra and Agnihotra ash on the soil. But then also, in India, many farms are pretty small, like a couple of acres. Yeah.
Yes.
But there are also big estates like coffee, tea, and so on. And for these larger farms, there's a method where we can use the Agnihotra effect on large area up to 200 acres. And it's only one Agnihotra you perform in the middle, and then you activated 10 pyramids, and then the one you put north, one south, one east, one west, and they are put on some column. You don't have to perform Agnihotra in these pyramids anymore, but the effect of Agnihotra in this central place goes through the soil to this pyramid, and this is how we can work on large areas.
So from last 40 years, you are doing Agnihotra, and you are also getting a good effect, like you have a good charm or good glow on your face.
Yes, we also did some experiments in Germany which show that the chakras are getting stronger and they're getting all aligned, which is very important and which is a sign of good health. And also we could see that the brain waves, which are normally in the beta range, which show activity but also stress, they go back to the alpha range mainly, which shows more relaxation and calmness. So that is very important. Also very important for the health, yeah?
Yes.
Because stress is one of the big factors for any disease. So all this can be achieved. But the drawback is it does not help to just know about Agnihotra. You have to perform. So that needs a little bit of discipline. But as I told you at the beginning, I thought it's impossible to get up so early. But then it was automatic. I didn't have problems with it. It is easy because you feel the effect.
Yes.
So what I suggest is to all the listeners, don't believe anything what I said. Just try it yourself. Perform Agnihotra for 3 weeks regularly, and then you see. If there's some good results, if you feel really better afterward, then of course you continue. If you don't feel these results, okay, then forget about it. But our experience is so many people and thousands of people are performing Agnihotra. They have seen the results and they're continuing. So there's a good chance.
Yes, this procedure is not an expensive one. This is very cheap, and we can control all air pollution, water pollution. We can grow good food. Like
yeah, as you say, the investment is relatively small.
Yes.
One time you buy such a pyramid, which is maybe 1,000 rupees, and then what you need is some cow dung. 1 kilo cow dung costs less than 100 rupees, and some ghee. The ghee, the problem is you have to go to some dairy farm where they only have cows. Don't buy the ghee in the market. That I would not suggest. It's not safe. Okay, but then otherwise it is pretty easy, and the Agnihotra time is also now it's made very easy for people. That we have an app called Agnihotra Buddy. Maybe you can see it. Agnihotra Buddy, both for iPhones and Android phones, which with a few clicks gives you the exact time of sunrise, sunset, exact to the second for every place where you are. It's very easy. When I started, I had to do calculations and interpolation and so on. It was difficult, but now it's very easy. So this is all very simple. It's made simple.
Okay.
And as I mentioned in the beginning, the idea is that we come back to a time where in every household, Agnihotra is being performed.
Yes.
And of course, the only thing what everybody can do is be an example, and then show it to friends. And then like that, it will be a movement, and more people are performing Agnihotra, and that will help everybody. And this is how we can change the whole world. And the idea is to come back to these Vedic times where we had a prosperity and happiness all over the planet.
Yes.
That is the idea, and let's go in this direction.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for your time.
Well, thank you for doing this. And hope it will reach many people and they get inspired.
Yes.
Then it will be great.